Hey, what's up everybody? This is KG from Draw 7. Welcome to another episode of my podcast today. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the upcoming League Cups that are happening at Stronghold Games on Saturday at 1:30 and Kaboom Games League Cup at 1:30 on Sunday as well. So, thank you for tuning in. We're going to do a sneak preview of what to expect, who's coming, what kind of decks we'll see, and what you can do to prep for this upcoming weekend. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and talk about some past weekend league challenges and a cup that happened in Corpus Christi at Cotton's Collectibles Card Shop in Corpus. So I want to go ahead and give a shout out to two RGV players, Adrian Garcia and Dylan, for making top cut over there. I believe this past Sunday we had Dylan running the Guardi and we had Adrian Garcia running the Chimpao. So congratulations to those two RGV players for making top cut. I know Adrian made top 8 and then Dylan, so close, made top 4, but heck of an accomplishment because they get points. And you know, being first of all, when you top at a out of town like San Antonio or even Corpus, it's not easy because first of all, I mean, you're playing against different players, different decks, different mindsets, different mentalities. So with that being said, I want to congratulate those two. I also want to congratulate the GOAT, Billy, for winning the League Challenge at Stronghold Games. Stronghold Games had their League Challenge this past Saturday, so shout out for Billy getting first place with the Old Faithful, Arc Zard. So with that being said, let's kind of just jump right into the main subject, and let's talk about the two upcoming League Cups. So first of all, you can sense that I'm going to spread the hype. We're definitely going to see a big turnout for both these cups this weekend. Now, not everyone will go to both cups, but from what the vibe I get, especially from the out-of-towners, it feels like a lot of these people will be coming in for both cups, from what I understood. So for RGV and for pretty much anyone coming in, you know, safe travels and, you know, best of luck to everyone this upcoming weekend. You know, I'm hyped. I'm excited. I think we're going to have a brawl this weekend because if you ask me like what decks are going to be like the most dominant, I really don't have an answer because it's locals, and locals, anything could happen for the most part. But if you ask me meta-wise for a meta forecast, I want to say just be prepared to play the standard decks that are going to be out there for sure, because I can tell you right now, RGV is going to be well represented. They weren't last year. I remember that, the first League Cup at Stronghold. I mean, you had more out-of-towners than RGV players. Now, granted, RGV was barely getting their foot wet, at least community-wise. But, you know, they kind of recovered, and the next time they did pretty well. So, with that being said, there's going to be representation from RGV. I think there'll be some people, maybe a few people from Laredo. Corpus will be there. San Antonio, Austin is going to be there. So, you know, if there's representation from all those cities in South Texas or further, I at least for sure guaranteed 5 rounds. My forecast for 6 rounds is probably about 85%. Pretty high, to be honest with you. So I think both days are going to have 6 rounds. So if you're looking at having a long event, at least 9-round day, yeah, those are going to be both those days for sure. I think there's going to be plenty of people going to get a hotel and just go at it. So as far as meta forecasts, you know, well, I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be a little bit of everything. Definitely, you're going to see your Zard, your Dracobolt, your Raging Bolt, some variants of Lost Box for sure. Guardies for sure, that's a guarantee. And I think the RGV will bring their Chimpao players. Not sure about out-of-town people, but for sure, I know we're going to have there's going to be the whole spectrum. So I wouldn't be surprised, like, if you play a different deck each round, for sure, if you're going to do all 6 rounds or 5 rounds. So the best advice I can give you is pretty much just make sure that you take your time, you make the right plays, and just think about your plays, the best possible play, you know. Sometimes you feel like you have to like make a play, you know, just think it out for a little bit and then just do the action, you know, and just make sure you understand your board presence, you know. That's generally speaking. If we go deck by deck, that will take hours. But just generally speaking, just some good tips to understand is that you want to keep up the pace of the game, but at this point, most of the people that are going to do the League Cups, I want to say most of these people are veterans. And even then, some of the new people kind of understanding what's been going on. And here's the reason why. Most of these archetype decks have been around for at least a year or so. So the only thing that changes is just pretty much some of the upgrades from the upcoming sets. So, you know, Guardy's been here for quite a while. You know, Lost Box has been here for more than a year. Maybe the only new deck is like Raging Bolt, but Raging Bolt, everyone kind of understands how it works. It's almost like a Miraidon, pretty much. Probably a better version, to be honest. But we have that. Then we had good old faithful Zard Pidgeot. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some Block Snorlaxes. It depends. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I think the only person that's probably not going to show up is probably Joel. To be honest, it's like, you know, it's kind of like the Friday Night Light football game where everyone's closed to go to the football game, and then Joel's like still open. Just kind of like, well, I'm here. So I don't know if Joel's going to go or not. I know he said he might not go Saturday. He'll go Sunday for sure. But, you know, Joel, if you're listening to this, like, hey, man, like, I think you're going to miss out this weekend because everyone's going to be there, or at least a representation. I know Brownsville will show up. They'll send some of their squad. So this is definitely a big League Cup that's happening Saturday and Sunday, and I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'll be your TO for Sunday. Audacio will be your TO for Saturday. And yeah, we're just going to see some good cards. I highly recommend that if you're not happy with your results, I suggest that you stay around and watch some gameplay, because I promise you'll learn something from some of these players. Some of these players that are coming down have the World's Invite for this year, and they're looking at getting points for next year. So definitely, and now that I was just thinking about it, most of the time, like as far as RGV, we guys have to travel to like a San Antonio regional, or pretty much if we got to travel, like we got to travel the furthest because we're in deep South Texas. But for once, it's pretty cool that you actually have some high caliber players coming to the Valley for some cups. And that says a lot, because obviously, you know, we know some of those people from the Austin and San Antonio area. And so with that being said, like, it's pretty cool that you're going to see some high level gameplay like in the RGV at Stronghold at Kaboom. So if, let's say this weekend it doesn't go your way, like, I really think you shouldn't leave. I really think you should at least watch a couple of games from these players, or just in general. If you really, you know, me personally, like when I play, and especially at Cup, I'll stay and watch, you know, especially Top Cut, because you can learn something. I know I judge, right? But I mean, you can always pick up something, especially if you want to pick up to the next level. And you know, and yeah, you just afterwards be friendly, like, hey, what's up, you know, like your deck list, blah blah blah. And I mean, one thing's for sure, we can confirm that despite Pokemon changing like the point system and the leaderboards, one thing we can confirm for sure is that because it's the beginning of the season, people still like Pokemon, like for sure, the card game. Like, it's just crazy that like, oh no, you know, they changed it, never mind. So I think what a lot of people are doing is that since it's, you know, summer's coming to an end, I think a lot of people are just trying to get a feel of like where they stand as far as points before work or school starts or college. And then they'll go from there and map out which regional I'm going to go to and what IC I'm going to go to. So it's pretty smart for some of these card shops to have their tournaments in the summer or July to provide that opportunity for the players to see if they're going to go for the World's Invite or not. Because, you know, being top 125, it's not going to be easy. But hey, you got to start from somewhere, right? And I can promise you, some of these people that got the World's Invite this year are going to be there at Stronghold Games. So definitely take note, and definitely, you know, just see what they do different or how they play. And you might be surprised that, man, they play really fast, or man, like they know all 60 cards. And yeah, definitely. So I'm excited. I'm sure some of you are excited as well. And if this is your first League Cup, I highly recommend that you get there early. I know both shops are going to open around 12, maybe a little bit earlier. Make sure you double check your deck list. That's a big tip. Make sure that all your cards equal 60, and make sure that you know, you double check that, you know, your Pokemon, your trainers, and even your energy is the right energy. Because I can tell you right now, when we do random deck list checks as deck list checks, wow, tongue twister right there. When we do random checks, You know, if there's an incorrect card, then it has to be replaced at least by a basic energy. And that really can mess up your deck. Yeah, one card can really change the outcome on it. Unless you're Miraidon, right? Like, okay, or Raging Bull. Okay, cool. Like, give me an extra grass or extra lightning. But other than that, like, double check your deck list. Make sure that everything is good to go. And then when you're confident, and I'll be honest with you, like, as far as what you want to play, just stick to what you're playing now. Don't change anything last minute. If I were you, I would decide like tonight or Wednesday or Tuesday what you're gonna play for Saturday and Sunday. Don't do it like Friday and then like test and then the morning of make 2 or 3 deck lists and I'm gonna turn this in because I see a bunch of Guardy players. You know, like, you're gonna see everything. So like, you know, like, you're gonna do all this overthinking, and then like Saturday of, you're gonna do all this overthinking, and then you're not gonna be focused on your objective to win the League Cup. That should be your objective, to win the League Cup. Like, don't, oh, I want to make top 8, then you're not gonna make it. You know, oh, I want to get one. You know, you need to consider Saturday and Sunday. You need to consider that when you get a win, like, it really is worth something, because getting wins now, the way things are looking and who's coming in and whatnot, like, they're going to be well deserved and well earned, in my opinion, at least. So that's just the way I see it. So make sure your deck list is good. Make sure that your sleeves are good. Again, Pokemon rules, you can't have, unless they're Pokemon sleeves, you can't have, you know, the My Hero sleeves. You can't have any other sleeves. It has to be oblique or just solid colors. So yeah, you know, I want to say double sleeves are fine, you know, but you can't use other than official Pokemon sleeves or Dragon Shield, you know, anything solid color. Just make sure, and then make sure you have backup sleeves, you know, because depending how you shuffle and whatnot, like, I mean, you're gonna need some backup sleeves and whatnot, just in case something tears or whatever. Then you're ready to go. Yeah, so as far as the equipment, just make sure that you're good to go. Make sure you have your V-Star counter or whatever troll V-Star you have, you know, or a GX counter. Yeah, so just, and then make sure you have dice. And, you know, overall, just the spirit of the community. Something doesn't go your way, or, you know, just, I mean, you know, we're pretty good about not getting tilted, right? You know, but if it does happen, just keep your cool, and, you know, it is what it is, man. I mean, you can't really control the outcome. If you get donked, you get donked, right? Like, what are you going to do about it? You know, you get bad pricing, it is what it is. So, but yeah, so I'm excited. I think there's going to be a lot of positivity. I think there's going to be, you know, a lot of people. If you want to ask me how many people, I at least think the minimum 40, for sure. 40, like minimum 40. Anything plus that, you know, maybe 50. If we're 30, I'm gonna be really surprised. But no, RGV just gets 30 alone. Though we're gonna have RGV and then out-of-towners, probably people from Mexico too. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. A few visitors from Monterrey. So yeah, for sure. We're looking at a big brawl this weekend, and I'm excited. I can't tell you how excited I am. And yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Now, if you ask me, like, who's front runner? Or who's going to make top 8 in both those days, I really don't have an answer for you, because if I had to forecast, at least from like representation, I think there'll be representation from like all over. I think there'll be 1 or 2 Austin people, 1 or 2 San Antonio, hopefully 1 or 2 RGV. I'm calling it out. And so yeah, I think we'll have equal representation from all over making top cut. You know, will it be one-sided? Maybe, possibly, you know, maybe all of Austin, San Antonio sweep. It just depends, you know. But again, that's why we love Tom, right? Because Tom, for sure, I'm going to tell you right now, some of y'all are going to get the homie rounds. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're going to be like, oh my God, I drove all the way to play against this person, the one I rode with. And it's probably going to happen, right? But be prepared for the homie rounds, you know, with this 5 or 6 rounds. You know, another thing I'm going to tell you is, as far as like placing, you know, let's say there's 5 rounds, you know, 3-1-1. Not sure you want to go that route, 3-1-1. Depends on your resistance. So pay attention to who you play, and pay attention, you know, pay attention to your resistance, who you played, and check if they dropped or not. Because I'm going to tell you one thing, and I'll use a perfect example, Alex Espinosa. When Alex Espinosa made top cut at Kaboom last season, I know his resistance was not all that great. Okay, but he was smart because when they got to the last pairings, I mean, he played it out. Because if he ID'd and went 3-1-1, he was guaranteed to probably bubble or not make it. So he played it out, and good for him because he took the game and he went. He was, I believe he was the number 1 seed 4-1, and everyone else was 3-1-1. So he, good mentality to have. Just play to win. If you want to ID and take the chance, sure, but I just wouldn't take that chance, especially if you like lost round 1 or round 2. I would play it out because you got to win anyways. So you might as well just keep the momentum going. I'm just saying, but at least give yourself a chance. But if you want ID, hey, and you mapped it out, great. But honestly, the only way, first of all, like in a 6-round tournament, you're gonna ID twice is if you like win the first 4 games. Then 4-0-2, you can do that. But there's only gonna be 2 people that get to do that, and even then, maybe their opponents just kind of like, no, I want to play it out. But honestly, they probably want ID as well. So unless you win, if it's a 6 rounds and you win the first 4 games, then yeah, go ahead and ID 4-0-2. But make sure you find out how many rounds there are. Okay, I've seen it happen where that's like they thought there was like 5 rounds and then there was 4, and so some people, prematurely ID'd. I've seen that happen before. You don't believe me? Ask Ray Alanis. He still made top cuts, so it's okay to say that. But he ID'd early by accident. And hey, he still made top cuts, so it didn't matter. So, anyways, moving on here. As far as meta forecasts, I've said this once, I said again, you're gonna expect everything, and just be prepared for anything and everything as far as meta's concerned. Expect Zard. Expect all the strong A specs, Reset Stamp, Hero's Cape. Expect Prime Catcher. Expect the Zard. Expect the Zard Pidgeot. Expect, Pidgeot Control, I can imagine. Expect the Block Snorlax. If you're playing Guardy, expect the Guardy Mirror for sure. Make sure you have that down because, again, that's basically ultimate chess right there, There's a lot of routes you can go in the Guardian Mirror, I can, break this down for you into a science. But then, I would have to invite Dylan as well, and then Dylan would have to give, probably not, because, you would have to give him, you would have to Cash App him or paywall. Even then, he probably wouldn't, but... but don't worry, there'll be a lot of Guardy players there to watch and to learn. So it's not like Dylan's the only one's going to run Guardy. There's going to be plenty of Guardy players. So, you'll definitely see the mirror. There'll be a handful of Chimpow players, Lost Box players, beware of the bear. So, just beware of the bear, and Miraidon, that's, I'm not sure about Miraidon. Raging Bolt's kind of very popular right now. So, I think Raging Bolt is probably a better version of Miraidon, in my opinion, because Raging Bolt is very more consistent. Miraidon, if you get nothing but energy, you just kind of sit there and pass. But Raging Bolt, at least those Ogre Pawns allow you to draw. It's stupidly consistent. Especially if you have 3 or 4 Ogre Pawns, okay, draw, and it's ridiculous, and then, Professor Sada's Vitality, it's crazy. So, I'm really definitely on the Raging Bolt hype. It's really, really good. It's really, really consistent. And yeah, it loses to the baby Pokemon 2-1, right? Like all the single prizers, but you have to pray that those decks also pop off or get consistent. Yeah, you're gonna see the late Iono game, right? Like, well, okay, I took 3 or 4 prizes and they're gonna Iono you and go for a comeback, but if they can't recover, then yeah, you're golden, So Raging Bolt is just kind of like a benchmark of against the single prizes. Okay, can you get there? Because they're definitely going to take out knockouts, right? But, thank God we don't have a Greninja variant Raging Bolt. That would be ridiculous, right? Imagine if Greninja, Radiant Greninja just, became, an ancient version. Forget it. No way, But, anyways, one can only imagine. The one I haven't talked about is Lugia. I think there'll be some Lugia players there. It'll be representative, but not into the highest numbers. But, again... The reason why it's not as popular, probably because Guardy just destroys that legacy energy or turns it off. So it's just tough because, you know, you think you're safe, but then that Monkey Dory just like pings that damage for KO, and then you're like, well, darn, like, you know, at least later on, right? I mean, that's how they turn off your legacy energy. And of course, Temple is still alright, but I do know that there's some decent builds out there for Lugia with, you know, with Iron Hands, and some people are now putting electric energy, so it's interesting to see those builds, to see where they fare. So that's one thing I like about locals, is that locals, like, as long as your deck's consistent, anything and everything can go, because it's one round, you know. That's Dylan's favorite format, by the way, you know, one round mania. So but yeah, so because it's one round, I mean, not one round, but, you know, it's not best 2 out of 3. So because it's one match, like, you can definitely get by with some cheesy decks. So it depends how cheesy you want to be. So yeah, Lugia will definitely be there. I think there'll be maybe very low variants of Ancient Box, and I haven't said that in a while. So we'll see. Puff, I don't know. We'll see what Puff do. Maybe Puff will drift into the future again, you know. But we'll see. So, but yeah, you know, the usual suspects will be there from the RGV, and, you know, I'm very excited to see what the out-of-towners bring, for sure. They're definitely going to bring their A game. And the best advice I can tell you if you're playing is that just make sure you make the right reads, make sure you check your outs, make sure that you check that discard pile. And again, just always be mindful of your gameplay, you know, make sure you put your prizes out there, you know, make sure you're just very transparent. Don't be afraid to ask questions like, hey, did you play your supporter? Hey, did you already use the ability? Those are things just to keep your game sharp. If you just kind of sit there and let your opponent do stuff, like, I mean, you're going to let your opponent play 2 supporters. And yeah, it has happened already. So just be careful, you know. So just keep a sharp game, and I think you'll have the results, okay? And again, if you don't do well Saturday, you can come Sunday. You don't do well Sunday, well, you know, RGV still has 2 more cups, so don't fret. Right now, RGV has about 4 cups. Eventually, probably by the second quarter, we'll probably have 2 more cups, hopefully in Brownsville. And yeah, so, you know, RGV is really getting spoiled with these cups for all these shops having Pokemon. And yeah, so just a good thing to have. But overall, just to give you my final thoughts, you know, I'll make a bold prediction. I think it's possible that one RGB player can win one of the cups. But I'm going to tell you right now that it's definitely going to be a grind. Like, if you're that RGB player that wins this weekend, one of the cups, like, yeah, you went through some tough competitors, you know, because this is a benchmark for sure. This is a benchmark of bringing your A game, you know, the gauntlet, so to speak. And so, you know, I'm not trying to intimidate anybody. I'm certainly not. I'm just really encourage everyone to bring your A game, because I think the next time you get this high level gameplay locally, you know, honestly, maybe the next quarter, but even then, like, we're in school already and all that and work, so this may be the only chance you get high level gameplay locally, like in town, in the RGV. If you want to look for that, excuse me, that's probably not until the first regional or the San Antonio regional. So definitely get that A game going. And yeah, so with that being said, those are just my closing thoughts. I wish you all the best of luck, and we'll see you this weekend at Stronghold Games. You know, make sure you get those deck lists. 12 o'clock, I believe they open. 1:30, hard start, and then Kaboom Games, they open at noon. Hard start, 1:30. So with that being said, this is KG from Draw 7 signing out. Have a good week. Good luck on your testing, and we'll see you this weekend. Laters.